The Buddha, before his death, said the words, "Be a light unto yourself." Now he could have easily said, "See the light from others, take it and follow it." Or he could have said, "Follow this, and that." But he said specifically for people to be a light unto themselves. So, in this podcast, we shall explore what it really means to be a light unto oneself, how one can become so sensitive that they can understand the very light that emanates from within, the fragrance that one searches for in the entire world, like the Kasturi Mrig, the deer that searches through the forest for his entire life to reach this perfume or fragrance, and eventually, alas, finds out that it started from within himself or herself. This beauty, this subtlety, this sensitivity that the Buddha is referring to is ever so available, yet it is extremely rare for us to find it in our usual day to day lives. The normal human being is very much far away from these virtues as he is stuck in the play of existence. The Buddha himself has, in his very initial teachings, propounded on the nature of existence as one of being that of dukkha. He says that जीवन दुख समान है, which means sadness or suffering is what life really is. And yet, in this very workings of the suffering, this machine that grinds you down, that makes you kneel, that pins you down on your knees or back against the wall, he tells in this very system that for the man to search for this light, which is something of an indication of there being ananda or real joy being present within it, within the very structures or the constructs of this life. Although the teachings of the Buddha were usually in negativa or in contrast of the general perception of those times, which delved much more into the positive aspects of life, which indulged in happiness, rituals, religiosity, he was yet able to give somewhat of a hint of what lies below this veil of our superficial lives which we normally lead. A normal human being is caught up by the plays and cycles. He is wound up by his or her own desires and vices. They may be greed, anger, lust, etc. Stuck in this level of being, man is never able to achieve the beauty in depth and achieve or be guided by his or own light, which would have been a natural progression if only one was really sensitive about it. The easiest solution that the mind stumbles upon it's in such scenarios when they come across the idea of there being a possibility of such a light being present is to just go on to follow the customs or traditions that everyone around them is following. It is to try to have faith or even go into some kind of meditation or prayers. And this is still a good progression when one looks at it, because from a beginner's perspective, or someone who is a rookie or a newbie, when it is seen in the long run, these are although crutches which help you to walk and are designed for the new learner. Sometimes, in the long run, after the initial period of being initiated into such practices, a person might take the crutch as a handicap in itself. A person who refuses to let go of the crutch is choosing the handicap. What this means is that we, instead of making use of the devices that are given to us to progress onto something of the next level, we rather just latch on to whatever device is easily available to us. And this act of denouncing faith and moving on to the next thing is what limits us to. Regarding this, many philosophers have said that I think is very deep. It goes like this: consider you are on the right path for yourself when you have walked on it with utmost honesty, and having walked on it, the path disappears. What this means is that when you have faith, give proper justice to the path of courage, you shall find yourself lost quite frequently. And this is not a bad omen at all. This is rather an indication of calling towards making your search even more subtler. It asks of you to become more and more sensitive towards the perfume, towards this essence, towards the hum, the reality that comes from within. Because this, in actuality, is the real light that takes you towards your salvation. Now, getting into the intricacies, when we talk about faith and following, when they have this matrix moment of understanding that there is a world which is something that is beyond their general perceptions, to take that pill that asks for understanding, when a person really chooses it, they also in a way choose a way to access. You can call it a pill, a practice, some meditation, listening to a discourse, or any other kind of ritual. These are the things that might initially enable you to look beyond the veil, and not for yourself, that there is a world which is beyond this. The cycles of dread and repetition which keep you on this roller coaster ride of ups and downs, sadness and happiness, to go beyond it. You have to fall in love with whatever takes you to the higher destination, towards what is unlocking the subtler versions of yourself. Yet, real transcendence lies in understanding the conceptual nature and getting to the level of subtlety where you are able to see the concepts or the dogmas or these rituals that you have adopted are no longer essential for you to be free of repetitive cycles. You are then able to abandon these concepts too, that pull you down, that are no longer serving you, and you are able to discern their usefulness for what they really are.